Welcome to The Last Safe Space. This is a brand new podcast from Music Venue Trust. It is a straight-talking, no-nonsense, data-driven podcast where we bring you the most up-to-date information about what is going on in the grassroots ecosystem, in particular, grassroots music venues. I am one of your co-hosts. I'm Toni Co. I work for Music Venue Trust, and I'm here with my co-host, also the CEO of Music Venue Trust, Mark Davyd. How are you doing?
I'm so pleased to be a co-host with you, Toni. Well, that's a good start, yeah.
Welcome to your own office. So, we've got to the end of the week. Lots of stuff's happened this past week. The news is in and we're ready to break it down for you. So in this week's roundup, the government accepts most of the licensing task force recommendations. Manchester has also set a blueprint for funding local venues. MPs also speak up in support of grassroots music venues and will share the latest in the groundbreaking campaign, Own Our Venues, and a big milestone that they've just hit. We also have a couple of crisis cases to share that are sort of keeping us on our toes at the moment. So let's get started with the licensing victory that we've had. After years of work by Music Venue Trust and our partners, the government has accepted the majority of the recommendations from the licensing task force. This is obviously really tangible progress. Could you just elaborate a little bit more on that for us?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is really properly tangible progress after years and years of campaigning. I mean, I think big congratulations go to individuals on that task force. So John Collins from Live, Paul Broadhurst from the GLA, Carly Heath from Bristol. Quite a few other people have put a lot of work in. What they've done is to really crystallise the ideas that have been around in the sector, both music venues, nightclubs, nighttime industries. All of us are really concerned about licensing and the kind of negative impact that quite a challenging licensing environment can have. So they've now put out the recommendations. Government has agreed that actually on a number of areas, those recommendations they agree with, and they're going to act on those. So it's one of those sort of very tangible but intangible moments where actually probably in the next 2 or 3 years people will say, oh, actually that's when my licensing conditions changed, that's when things got easier for me to do business. So yes, it's a big moment.
It's a huge step forward, but it's still not the end of the road, is it? As you say, there's a call for evidence coming this year, and we'll be right there shaping what happens next. But, obviously big thanks to everyone that worked on the task force, the members who wrote the report, and every single venue that also contributed to with their experiences and with their evidence. And that's what sort of leveraged the push forward, I guess you would say.
Yeah, and I think actually, there's some bits in it that are very important. There's the concept of moving agent of change, which is currently in the planning framework. And that is meant to stop developers from building right next to music venues and closing them down with bad development. That they plan to bring into the new licensing framework. Well, that would actually finally resolve some of those things that just are quite comic. We quite often have to point out that, yes, you have moved it next to a music venue that's been there for 40 years. Yes, you are an idiot if you're complaining. You can hear the drums. Mm-hmm. Or, it's not just us. I mean, there's a broad, wide thing across society. People move to farms and complain they can hear sheep. People move to villages and complain they can hear church bells. So that concept that actually maybe those won't be treated as really big, serious, proper complaints because the person who's done that is the agent of change. They're the person that's changed things. So things like that, TENS notices. I should really pick one out actually, which is quite funny. Grandfather clauses in licensing conditions, which you
what does that mean?
Yeah, well, basically things that happened a long time ago resulting in a licensing condition. A very, very famous one, I shouldn't name the venue, but a very famous one is people attending this music venue should be suitably attired. I mean, what does that mean?
I'm not sure.
They're going to review all those conditions. There'll be a phase in which those conditions, venues can say, I've got this slightly daft condition about everybody's got to wear slippers on a Tuesday. Can we take that off the license? And the idea is to get rid of a lot of the fluff that's in license and focus on things.
You might have heard a lot about Agent of Change recently in the news. It's actually something that MVT has been campaigning for since 2014, since its inception as a charity. So we've been working quietly in the background for a long time on this, but it's great to see this push forward and to see some change happening.
It accounts for a huge number of cases that we have to do with development. I mean, our venue support team have to put in objections, planning objections, And I would say 50% of their work is about developers wanting to build something that actually would prevent the venue from being able to carry on what it's doing because they haven't recognized they're what's called the agent of change. They should build something next to a music venue that doesn't mean the music venue has to be quiet or doesn't change what they have to do or change their opening hours. That's the very simple concept. You want to change something, you deal with it. Build your block of flats in a way that means your residents won't be annoyed by it, by noise. You know, it's not, I don't think it's a lot of common sense in agent of change.
We've been talking a lot about responsible planning as well. So it's not about making these people the enemy or anything. It's about responsible planning. It's about reciprocity between the businesses and the people living.
Yeah, look. If you can name me the music venue that wouldn't love it if 2,000 students who love live music moved next door, I think you're making that up. Yeah, they'd be absolutely brilliant. But you don't want them to move next door and then not be able to sleep because then they'll have to complain. Mm-hmm. So just build things that are suitable for the places you want to build them. But this new piece would actually make that part of licensing. So when there is a noise complaint, maybe local authorities will have to think, oh, hang on, did you move right next to the bass drum? Maybe that's your fault rather than the music venue's fault, which would be very cool.
Yeah, I agree. And as someone that used to live above a dance floor, I can tell you that like some good responsible building would help a lot. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next segment. This is about Manchester's £250,000 that have been earmarked for grassroots music venues, raised from the success of large-scale events in the city this year. This is an absolutely massive thing. I'm just, again, hoping that you could explain what's happened here.
Well, we should first of all raise our glasses to Liam and Noel.
What?
Yeah, I know. For no reason at all. For some reason, this story got reported in newspapers as Oasis donates money to Music Venue Trust. Just to be clear,
if you'd like to, get in touch.
If you're out there and you'd like to, you should definitely do that. But that's not what happened at all. Manchester City Council commissioned a report from an organisation called The Hub.
Music in City Report, yeah.
Music in the City Report. And it's been a long time in being consulted. I think it's now being released in September. In that report, they recommended a number of ways that the city could recognise the contribution that grassroots music venues make to the city. And what Manchester City Council, when they've been reading that report and even before it's published, have been thinking about is this year's a huge year for music in the city, not just because of Oasis. The Co-op Live is now fully functioning. Mm-hmm. It's contributing to the city. There are lots of other gigs. I think Sam Fender is playing. There's lots of acts going and there's lots of big events. That brings money into the city, both in hires of the parks and business rates and all kinds of things. And the city is making money out of music, and the city is recognising that where does that money start? Well, it starts in the Nightingale, the Star and Garter, or Matt and Fred's. And so what they've decided to do is to take some of the money they've received from that and to put it back into the venues. And they've asked us to be involved in that as a way to distribute it. What we should say is it's really recognising that the venues have been hit very bad this year by the business rate relief reduction. So actually, this will go some way to mitigating the impact of loss of business rate relief. In the last year, they were getting 75% business rate relief. That's been reduced to 40%. And across the country, that's cost grassroots music venues around about £7 million. So in Manchester, they're actually going to do something about us helping to get money into those venues, which will help them the business rates, or they can invest it in something else. We're still working out the details, but you're right. It's a great move. It's a great story. It just got a little bit lost as to what it was. I think.
I know it was confusing when you said that. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, people thought there would been a big sale on bucket hats, and that meant that Oasis had given us some money. So no, that didn't happen. There was a big sale on bucket hats, but we didn't get any money from that.
Anyway, this is how it should work, right? Big gigs, they boost the economy, and that success is then shared with the grassroots. That's just, common sense.
Yeah, 100%.
But, this is a groundbreaking intervention, and the model can obviously be followed by other councils.
Anywhere there's a lot of big concentration of gigs like this, then city councils can think about that, and so can the spaces. Of course, we start to touch on things like the grassroots levy, which is another conversation for another time. But the concept that when music is bringing benefits to your finances in a city, when it's bringing activity to your city, make sure it's supporting the places where that music comes from. That's absolutely obvious. Oasis played 32 shows on their first grassroots tour, something like 20 to 25 of those shows took place in venues that have closed down.
Yeah.
This money will mean that those venues in Manchester will be safer than they were before. So it's a very good move.
That's amazing. And hats off to Manchester City Council. Amazing work.
Bev Craig at Manchester City Council, I mean, huge round of applause. Actually, should we do that again?
Yeah,
we raise
shout out.
We should raise our cans to Bev Craig and Manchester
I think it's
City
actually
Council.
bad luck to put your drink back down without taking a sip.
Is it really? Well, this podcast could go on a very long time and I could get quite vocal.
So next, I just wanted to talk about how Parliament have spoken up in favour of grassroots music venues. So this week we saw MPs using their platform to talk about venues in the Sir David Arnott adjournment debate. So Adam Thompson, MP, talked about how the touring circuit used to work. Bands could release an album, they could play a medium-sized venue and at least break even on a show. But today, with streaming payouts and, you know, costs rising all the time, even established acts, they're starting to really struggle.
Yeah, the debate. If anybody, well, don't go and watch it before you finish watching this, but it is well worth watching because it was Adam Thompson,
the
MP, says some things in Parliament which are absolutely. I mean, it's probably the first time anything like that's been said in that kind of very raw and connected way. I wrote about this recently, like this phrase, grassroots music venues. Okay, well, Beverly, who's our COO here, invented that phrase in 2014. Before that, it was like the toilet circuit or sticky carpet venues they are in Australia, which I love that one.
I quite like that one.
I do. It's very onomatopoeic, isn't it? Sticky carpet, you can feel what that is. But grassroots music venues is now part of the lexicon. You know, it's how we talk about things. To have this sort of debate in Parliament, there was Chris Bryant obviously was involved. I think David Amos was involved. Look, you know, not everybody loves politics, particularly at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think there are MPs in there who get it. Adam, I thought, spoke particularly from the heart and was very impressive and actually sounded like somebody who'd probably been crowd surfing.
Well, he literally urged all MPs to go out and visit a grassroots music venue this summer and see a band that they've never heard of.
Yeah.
Which is a great thing to hear, you know, is being said in Parliament. I think Peter Swallow MP also spoke up for local GMVs in Bracknell, and the Culture Minister, Sir Chris Bryant, responded with strong support
Really
for the
strong,
£1 levy.
Very good.
And even gave Live Nation a gentle nudge with a little reference.
Look, I you know, it's very sort of popular held opinion that politics doesn't really do anything for you. I think in something like this, where the will of the public is pretty clear from the Music Fans Voice survey earlier this year, where there are real solutions, you know, the £1 levy, cut business rates, cut VAT on tickets. You know, I'm not saying we're going to get all these things, but definitely that kind of debate makes you think, oh, wait a minute, the whole atmosphere and conversation around this has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even for Music Venue Trust, for the last couple of years, we've had so much engagement with the government as well. Yeah,
and there's so many. Caroline Dinage with chairs the CMS Select Committee, brilliant. Alex Sobel in Leeds, really understands. Kevin Brennan, Lord Brennan as he is now. There are lots of MPs who really love music, and there are a lot of them who really do understand what we're talking about as an organisation and what fans and artists who love live music in their communities are talking about. You know, there's solutions here, and like I say, that if you haven't seen it, you should definitely go and watch it because it doesn't.
You'll see the human behind the MP.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Parliament, does it?
No, it doesn't at all.
Nobody's making any technical points; they're all just making quite passionate points.
Moving on to our next segment, we've been out on the road doing some regional venue meetings across Frome, Sunderland and Leeds. You know, we've been getting out and seeing everyone. I actually went down to Frome to the Cheese and Grain, absolutely amazing venue, lovely staff as well. I met up with venues in the south and southwest. You just went to Sunderland, didn't you?
Yeah, to the Independent in Sunderland, which A, is a brilliant venue. B, just like you said, you meet these people who are running these venues and just reminds you why we do this work.
Absolutely.
They're so professional. Like the sound was great. They just had everything completely under control. They knew exactly what they were doing. They did it really, really well. They were supporting us all day. And also they're just people are lovely, aren't they, really?
It was just amazing to connect with them on that sort of real human level. And, it was such a great opportunity for us to talk about, the fresh data that we've got. We've got so much fresh data to talk about, especially from the fan-led survey, from talking about planning to agent of change, obviously, that you've just mentioned before, to legislation, and to get sort of like a real clear understanding of what their challenges are and also their successes. So it was really such a valuable experience, for me to go down to Frome, and I'm sure you feel the same way about
Sunderland. Was also, I should say, that the Independent has got 3 different potential complaints against it, or challenges. So we ended up doing a little trip around the streets around Sunderland, like a group of tourists, to look at where they were going to build some set of flats down here, where they might build some others down there, and then take a look at the tower block outside where somebody's moved in and started complaining about the noise. And that felt really practical. And I think everybody at the event, actually, all the venues and Sunderland Music City were there. The local MP, Lewis Atkinson, came down. Again, really understood it. Was there for a few hours, listened to everything, has gone away, really well informed. I think people come, you talked, we dumped a load of data on people, like the music fans, 93% of fans support the £1 levy on the arena stadium tickets. 85% of fans think that you shouldn't be able to close a music venue down with a new noise complaint from somebody who's moved in. Mind you, that does raise the question, what do the 15% think? 15% of people thought it was okay to close a music venue down.
Maybe they just skipped that question.
I think they didn't understand the question. But look, actually, so we do all this data dump for people, but actually, equally, I don't know about your thing in Frome, but certainly in Sunderland, I learned a massive amount in one day.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the benefit of going down and talking to everyone, even in our sort of like lunch break, and getting down and, really hearing how everything is going. One venue showed us that they just bought another venue, and showed us pictures of the space, and it was absolutely amazing. And we just wouldn't know if we didn't get to talk to them.
And the networking as well that goes on. Mm-hmm. So there were a couple of 60 capacity venues that were quite a way outside Sunderland, different places. But immediately you could see a connection being made there because, if you run a 60 capacity space, that's hard work.
It's really hard work to make, to make the costs work.
And do you know what? They're my favourite people to be around. I don't know about you, Toni, but I don't do this work because I'm unbelievably well paid. And
I don't think anyone in the grassroots sector is well paid.
I do it because actually these are my favourite type of people, and I really genuinely believe in what they're doing. And when you're with them, you get that sense of passion and dedication and emotive connection to their community, which is so important.
And ethics as well, incredible ethics.
The ethical venues piece that we're running at the moment that was part of that, people really got that.
They connected with it a lot, didn't
really
they?
Connected, yeah. So it was great.
But, we also in Scotland had our brilliant colleague Stina attending the First Minister's speech in culture and the creative industries. John Swinney, I hope I pronounced that right, closed with a brilliant line. These things are not just decoration. They are who we are. The richer that gift, the better we all are.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful quote.
And isn't it nice to, like, from one end to the other? That's the First Minister. Mm-hmm. And then I can tell you about something that somebody from a 60 capacity venue said. They're all saying the same thing now. I think that's massive.
And all the way from Scotland all the way down to the southwest. You know?
And that's how you get real change, real positive change, is that you get a consensus of opinion and consensus of language around something like grassroots music venues, and then you can get stuff done.
We just wanted to also make sure that in these segments we're talking about the crisis cases that we're also dealing with at the moment, because it's been a busy week and our crisis inbox hasn't slowed down at all. So in Northampton, a venue is facing financial challenges, something that we're seeing a lot. 2 in Manchester need to help with licensing and insurance, and we've been reviewing rights management invoices for venues in Lancashire, Manchester and Bristol, some of which are wildly off, and I'm sure that we'll be talking about this a lot more publicly soon. So this is the sort of the day-to-day grind at the moment that keeps the network alive, and it only works because people are supporting us, which I think is a really good opportunity to tell you about our supporter circle. Is that something would you mind sharing?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a vision of our own organisation where some of the stuff we do, we can do because partners in the music industry or partners in government or whatever else. There are opportunities Fight Back. You can drink Fight Back, and we raise money out of that. But some of it is just this. Some of it is really, really absolutely vital work directly on the ground. You know, it's not glamorous or anything else. It's literally somebody sends you something and it's got to be resolved, or that venue is seriously under threat of closure. And we want to make sure that whatever else we do that's the sort of bits on the Christmas tree that make it look nice, we actually need to fund the Christmas tree, you know, and actually have something to hang all those things on. That we want to fund with an army, frankly, of supporters just giving us £5 a month or £10 a month. And just saying, actually, this really, grassroots music venues really matter to me. I'm going to put some money in so that when a venue has got a development bill next door, there's somebody to write a planning objection. When a venue's in legal problems, there's somebody to give them the legal advice they need. That's what we want the supporter circle for. We're not buying a helicopter with it. We're buying the absolutely most basic level service that we do. So that's, if people want to support this work, that's the way to do it. Join the supporter circle.
So just to quickly explain what the supporter circle is, you can sign up for £5 or £10 a month, and that money will be donated to MBT, and it will be redistributed through our own sort of like projects, through the VST team, through, you know, lots of different ways that will go back into grassroots music venues to keep that whole scene sustainable. So also very, very exciting is the milestone that we've just reached for Own Our Venues. You know, this is this incredible project, which Mark can explain to you about, but we've just literally passed £1 million fundraising and also 700 investors.
Yeah. You mentioned Asian of Change being like 2014. This project goes back even further than that. And it actually is the reason why Music Venue Trust is called Music Venue Trust. We had this vision in 2012, 2013 of a national trust of music venues. And the reason we started looking at that is, look, in the end, after we've done all the legal and the financial support and the noise, after we try and deal with all these things, what's the cause of all these problems? Actually, it's the ownership of the venues. You'd be surprised how many times an issue about energy supply or, you know, whatever it is, will actually track back to the ownership of the venue.
What's the stat on how many venues actually own venues?
It's currently, I think we're on 88% are tenants.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. And what does that mean? Look, this is one of our sort of guiding principles. Who should own music venues? Well, people who are involved in the music industry, or people who love music, or musicians. Artists should own music venues, you know, and we can't all afford to own one each, but what we could do is we could all collectively own them. So we created, in the end for this, took us a long time to work out how to do it, but we created what's called a charitable community benefit society, which is called Music Venue Properties. We did the first launch of that, I think, 2023. We nearly did it in 2019, but then something happened on a worldwide scale in 2020.
Of which we will not
never mention again. So we came out of that. We worked out exactly how we wanted to do it, and we do it through a community benefit society, which is basically you buy shares. Well, you buy one share for whatever amount of money you can invest.
What's the lowest amount? That's
lowest amount, I think, is £100. Yeah. But if you're under 25, I think it's only £50.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing. And then you are effectively the co-owner of Music Venue Properties. And Music Venue Properties uses your money to buy music venues. So in the first round, we raised over £2 million. For over 1,300 people.
It was like 2.8 million, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's like the money just kept coming and coming and coming. And then with that, Music Venue Properties bought 5 venues. So it was the Snug in Preston, the Snug in Atherton, the Ferret in Preston, the Bunkhouse in Swansea,
Booking Hall in Dover,
and La Pub in Newport.
Yeah.
5 great.
Amazing venues. That are now secure for life.
Very, very important to understand those venues. No, we don't try and run those. Music Venue Properties is not about running a music venue. It's about owning the bricks and mortar. So the brilliant people who run music venues have a landlord that want there to be a music venue there. That's the concept we're changing.
And aren't driving the rent up.
They're not driving the rent up. They're not demanding extra things. Freeze the rent as it is. We can eventually, we might be able to lower them, but that's not the point. You now are secure in that building. A lot of the stuff we do might be like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe even a year, maybe a big thing, 2 years. This is a 100-year project. Long after you and me are dusting these chairs and our heads are in glass jars and we're still trying to talk about it, the Ferret in Preston will still be a music venue. And so this time around, there's another set of venues that Music Venue Properties wanted to buy. They launched it in, I think, late May. And by the first stage closing thing, which was the end of July, they'd raised over £1 million from another 700 investors. And that means there are now 2,000 investors in this project that I'd like to look directly into the camera and say, to you, the person in the music industry who told me this would never work, fuck you. So don't fuck with us, because we will do things. You know, we have a slogan. The people who say it cannot be done should get out of the way of the people who are doing it. It's easy to think we're the people doing it, but we're not. It's the 2,000 people who've thought, wow, I want to be part of that. I want to own a music venue. And for the people who couldn't afford to invest, it's the people who shared that story, the people who encouraged their friends to do it, the people who just went, wow, this is such a great idea. By the end of this project, this phase of the project, if all goes as we hope, Music Venue Properties will own 12 venues and will become the largest landlord of music venues in the UK. The nearest other one has only got 11. So they'll have 12 and they'll then be the biggest one. So that's an incredible story in, what's that going to be, 3 years for them to become the biggest organisation that owns freeholds that music venues are in. I'd love it if they could buy 100 or 200 or why don't they buy 800? Buy all the music venues in the country.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Anyway, the second Own Our Venues campaign has now been extended to the 24th of October. So there's still time to get involved if you would like to invest. And we hugely encourage you to do just that. Very quickly, just to talk about our campaign partners and our community, we've had some brilliant collaborations these past few weeks, from the DCMS video showing how small venues grow stadium acts, to the amazing grassroots band Opus Kink being part of a 24-track double compilation raising money for MVT and the UK Artist Touring Fund. We also announced 6 new MVT patrons. Really cool. Like, I think 2 from each nation, which is really awesome. All the way from Belfast all the way to Bangor. Is that how you pronounce Bangor?
Bangor.
Bangor.
Do you know, the only way I could do it is to start singing. Didn't we have it on the day we did? Bangor.
Bangor.
Yeah, it's Bangor. Yeah, I think it's Bangor.
All committed to protecting our venues, which is amazing. Gear for Music is setting up an emergency equipment fund for venues as well. And Jack Daniels is running a amazing pub promotion where every Coke and Jack donates 20p back into MVT's work. So thank you very much, Jack Daniels, for
confused
that.
me then by saying Coke and Jack. It's definitely a Jack and Coke.
Jack and Coke. Sorry. Clearly, I'm literally only drinking Jack. I don't know why I led with Coke. Anyway, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Jack Daniels, for that. And then lastly, just to say, as always, please show up to the gig early. You never know which support act is going to become your favourite new artist. And, you know, post about the gigs that you love. It really helps, you know, it's so important to do that. And if you'd like to further support our work, you can join the supporter circle. As we've mentioned, our members are now in the hundreds, which is pretty incredible, and we'd love to continue to push that higher as well. So this was the last safe space from Music Venue Trust. We'll see you next time. Until then, please follow our work by liking and subscribing. Sharing our messaging online also really helps. It all makes a massive difference. But support your local music scene, and let's just keep the lights on.
Cheers.
Cheers.